What's shaking, people? It's your boy Doom Killer HD back with another episode of Excelsior Now podcast. Today we have a special guest co-host by the name of Johnny Rocker. You people know him. Say hello to the people, Johnny.
Hey, how's it going, chat?
Sit back and relax. You are now rocking with the best. And it is my honor to introduce the one, the only Mr. Paul Tassie. Say hello to the people, Paul. Paul, you there?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Can
Uh-oh.
you not hear us?
Can you not hear us?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Paul, you there? Oh no. We are having some
we lost some
technical
audio.
difficulties. Yeah. Hey, Paul, can you hear us?
You might have to pull him back in.
Oh, he disconnected. Let me send him a new invite. Sorry about the technical
All right, chat.
difficulties, guys.
It's all good. Technical difficulties.
There he is.
Huh?
There he
Oh.
is.
It went all black, and I'm like, it says I'm unmuted, but I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
got you, my dude.
Okay,
Sorry
there we go.
about that. Sorry about that. Again, like I said, it is my great honor to introduce the great Mr. Paul Tassie. Say hello to the people, Paul.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry if I was completely silent before when he said that, but I did not hear anything.
No worries.
We'd like to say that technical difficulty brought to you by Crystal Dynamic and Avenger.
Thank you. Stop it, Johnny. Well, we are about to get started with one-on-one with Doom Killer HD, and you guys know how this goes in the chat. We're gonna give Johnny. We're gonna give Paul 2 softball questions, and then we're gonna break out the popcorn. And you know it goes down when we break out the popcorn. So, the first question for you, Paul, is: who is Paul Tassie, and what can we find when we stumble across your YouTube and your articles?
I am a writer for Forbes. I cover video games and some TV and movies there. If you Google me, I write about, 5 articles a day, 7 days a week, almost every week of the year, more or less. And on top of that, I added YouTube over the past year, and I'm doing close to daily videos there. My main game, as some of you may know, is Destiny, and that's kind of gotten me into the entire looter space with like Borderlands and Avengers and Outriders and like pretty much every game in that genre. But anything that's like big enough that I have time for, I will probably also be covering there too.
Nice. Okay. What is your most favorite thing that you've written as far as either novels, even scripts for YouTube, articles, anything like that? The one thing that you're like, you know what? I'm going back and read that again because it was damn good.
Yeah, that's man. I can't even think of my articles because like the sheer volume at this point is like I think I got to be close to 10,000 articles. I think at this point, so like I don't even know where to start there. So I'll cheat and I'll say one of my books. If I had to pick one, I wrote a book called Hero Killer. It's like a near future sci-fi spy novel kind of book that I have 5 books. That might be my favorite one, that and its sequel. So that's probably my favorite piece of writing. If anyone did want to check that out at any point, that's something I'm pretty proud of, and I'm working on a 6th book now, but who knows when that'll be finished. So
Awesome. Oh yeah.
Hey Kitty, could you put a link to his books in the chat, please? I'm pretty sure they're on Amazon.
You just search on Amazon. If you search my name on Amazon, they'll show up.
That would be awesome. All right, chat. Put them popcorns in there for me because it is popcorn time. And yes, I'm using my Marvel cup today for the popcorn. Awesome. Mr. Paul Tassie, what frustrates you most about Marvel's Avengers the game?
Oh man, I mean, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind, that has kind of always come to mind, is I would say the loot and gearing system, like kind of the loot chase, where it just has no real logical flow to me, even after all of this time. A game that's equally new, equally kind of experimental in a lot of ways, like Outriders. That to me had kind of a clear path of like, okay, I have this class, I'm going for this specific set that does this specific thing to alter your build, and like here is the path to like the best way to get there, grinding whatever endgame activity. Avengers, it's like here's a bazillion exotics. Some of them may be relevant to something. They're not really sets, even though they kind of are. Right. They might be good in some activities. Some of them may be totally useless. The stats may be like there's no coherent paths for me. to kind of see the grander picture of like what I am supposed to be going for specifically each time I log into Avengers and the activities I'm supposed to run. They keep changing everything. So like going back to the game now, I'm not even sure what's giving exotics and how often. And you have like 9 characters to gear up at this point too. So like, and every time they add a character, it's like something's getting left behind. So you kind of have to just pick your favorites, and it's not really a game. You can multi-class very easily. So that was like 5 things rolled together. But
no, that's perfect. That is perfect, boss. Love it.
Absolutely.
If there was one thing you can change in Destiny, what would it be?
I would eliminate blue engram drops, which
that would be a wrap.
For those of you who don't know, it's just essentially junk loot that you cannot avoid picking up no matter what. And if you do avoid it, it goes to your postmaster and shoves better loot out of there. Credit to Avengers, they implemented the thing where I think blue loot doesn't even drop or something like that, where if you hit a certain power threshold, just it doesn't come up anymore. That would be perfect for Destiny, and Destiny 2's been around for 4 years now, and they have not implemented any solution like that. So I'm in favor of just deleting blues entirely from the game at this point, but that is somewhat controversial.
A big fan of yours and a good friend of mine, Kitty, sadistic kitten that is literally like, yes. She is.
They know it. They know. Like that's the plague in Destiny right now.
100%.
Yes, real quick question. It's more of popcorn than softball. Favorite Spider-Man, Toby, Andrew, or Tom?
Oh man. That's hard.
It is.
I would probably say, okay, so this is complicated. I like Andrew Garfield probably the most as an actor. I just really think he's a cool dude. Mm-hmm. I grew up with Tobey Spider-Man, so he's probably my personal favorite Spider-Man. Overall movies, I would say the Holland movies are probably the best collection of movies in general, even if I like Tobey's Spider-Man more. So that was a kind of a cop-out, but like that's kind of how I feel. But I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is also very good too, and he's done a great job.
Yes, he really has. He is. I'm a Toby guy myself. I'm pretty old, so Toby for me. But Tom these days, I mean, you cannot knock him.
Yeah.
So what's about to happen is Johnny is going to ask you a few questions that we got from our friends in the Avengers community on Twitter.
Absolutely. So question number 1 is coming from RT on Twitter. Someone who covers live service games. Where do you see the model in the next 5 to 10 years? A lot of games have trended more towards cosmetic-based microtransactions. And now with NFTs looming over the industry, seems like that is going to be the play for monetization. What do you think?
No. So that's kind of a few different things so NFTs, I think we are going to see more kind of like blockchain based stuff, but anything that like even has a prayer of succeeding in that space, especially initially, is going to have to be something that's like built up from the ground level. Like I could see Marvel licensing some sort of maybe like mobile blockchain based game where all the loot is NFTs and stuff, but the games that are just going to try and jam NFTs into their existing model, like, okay, Avengers suddenly has skins that are NFTs. Like, how much of a disaster would that be? Like, no one would want that. And we've already seen that across a couple of games with Ubisoft and things that they're trying things like that. So I'm not worried about like NFTs invading Avengers or Outriders or Destiny or Borderlands. And like a lot of these places have already kind of made pretty anti-NFT statements about that. But I think people are going to still try to make blockchain games, but kind of jamming that into existing games is probably not going to be that much of a problem, given like just these developers are like touching this, or the publishers really are touching the stove and like getting burned as soon as they bring up NFTs. And like I can't see how many more of these we're going to see in existing franchises unless you get into kind of like weird middle ground space. Like they're definitely going to do like alternate team NFTs. They're at least going to try that. Like EA would almost be stupid not to try that, because you never know how that community will react or if that might be something that could work there. But like loot NFTs in existing looter games, I don't see that happening. And I think we're going to continue to see the trend of kind of what we're doing with battle passes and cosmetic microtransactions and things like that. And we've kind of shied away from loot boxes and things like that over the last few years. So that's been a positive trend generally.
Absolutely. To piggyback off that, our good friend of the channel, Sadat the Gamer, had a very similar type question over a 5-year year span. Do you see games as a service model or NFTs being more damaging to gaming in general?
So that kind of assumes that games as service is damaging as a concept, which
Right.
I don't know if that's always true. I think there's this argument in some cases where, like, I can see the argument that maybe Avengers would have been better as just a really big, cool single player co-op multiplayer story game and not trying to do the whole live service thing. Like, that's not exactly a new position, but so in that case, maybe games of service kind of made things worse. But I would say other games have been bolstered by the games of service model if done correctly. And even games that are maybe not games of service are still benefiting from a live model in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think you're going to see too many, things reach the level of like a Destiny where it's like that popular and that much content going live. But I mean, Destiny's not even the first one. Like, MMOs were doing that even before that, and MMOs continue to do that now. So I think there will be a subsection of those games that continue to do that well. And I think we will see fewer people kind of pull an Avengers, pull an Anthem, and like really invest a ton into like, okay, this game is going to be constant live updates indefinitely, because that is proven to be kind of just too risky. And games that are doing it that are kind of finding success, like Outriders was like, no, we're not live service, we're not doing it. Borderlands is like, we're not live service. But they're doing live servicey things. They're updating the game with, big patches, big additions, big DLCs. Outriders is getting an expansion, so it's very similar. So compared to NFTs, I still don't think NFTs are going to manifest as quite the threat that they could be because of just mass rejection by gamers. I don't really equate it to like, people complained about microtransactions too when they first started. Like, it's a different category. I wrote a whole article about this at one point where there was at least some sort of like utility you could describe with like, okay, Oblivion Horse Armor, they can sell this for a quarter of the price of the game or whatever it is, and just kind of maybe cut it out of the main content. So it's not that much work for developers for a huge profit. Whereas an NFT is like, you're spending all this development time to design a limited edition item for just a handful of people. And in that sense, the developer cost and time probably does not outweigh the benefits. So I don't think the benefits are there for either the consumer or the developer, unless there's some sort of miracle that people figure out with this. And this is overlooking any potential moral concerns about environmental damage and things like that too. So I'm not really scared of NFTs sort of destroying the industry, because I just think they suck too much to do that. I mean, that could change in the future. Well said. So it's still early days, so we'll see how they manifest. But from what I've seen so far, I'm not super worried about it.
Very nice. Let's see. Let's move on to our buddy Agent Jameson. Given the current state of Avengers, what is the realistic length of service for this game at this point? And a follow-up question: do you feel the higher ups are aware of the feelings of the player base, and do they and or not care?
They very much care. I guarantee you they care, because all they want is for people to be happy and play the game. I know it sounds like, they don't always listen to this or that, or they're not doing the right things or whatever, but like they desperately care. Like that is kind of what you want the most when you're doing this kind of game. In terms of its actual lifespan, though, I still, after all this time, I still don't know if it's done anything to kind of prove that it is going to be, a Destiny style, just endless game of content forever. I would say the hard cap is probably another year of content. I don't know what their contract is or whatever. I was surprised to hear them, 5 months ago or whenever I talked to them, confirm that there was definitely 2022 content coming, because I didn't know if that was a sure thing. But now that is starting to come, my guess is we get to one more kind of Black Panther size expansion, but like without some sort of just massive upswing and massive turnaround and like huge revenue. I don't know how long they're going to keep investing in it, which isn't like to say it's this giant failure, and like, maintaining a live game for, 2 years is still impressive, but like it's Square Enix. So, they're breathing down their necks. Obviously it's the Marvel license, and there's going to be a lot of other Marvel games kind of coming into the fields, this year, next year, just a lot of other competitors that may not be loot based, but are in the Marvel space. And I think Crystal Dynamics themselves might even just want to move on to a new project at some point. I mean, there are, I don't think they're 100% working on Avengers right now. They're probably doing other things as well. They're working with Microsoft on Perfect Dark, I think.
Perfect
Is that
Dark,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I think, a year max, and then we'll see how many heroes and missions and things get out in that time.
All right, and the last question of our segment comes from Struggler Bry on Twitter. In hindsight, do you think it was a mistake of them to commit to all free post-launch content?
Yes, I do. I mean, given the way things went, I can understand how it would have been even maybe harder to try and get people back. But I feel like when you definitely commit to having only free content, that creates a situation where you are devoting a lot of time and design resources to things like a bazillion different skins, some of which are good, some of which are bad, because that is your only way to make money. Whereas if you're doing like a paid season pass that corresponds with the season, that's not just like the cosmetic things they're doing, or if you're doing like a paid, it's $10 to play as this hero, or it's $20 for the Black Panther expansion, that may open up some more doors in terms of revenue than just making everything free, because I haven't seen, these free content drops just like skyrocket the player base. There's increases, but they're not huge, and they don't really last for longer than, a day or so. So it seems like they maybe should have made the base campaign free and then had after a certain point, and then made, paid expansions after that, especially with the game going on Game Pass and stuff. Once Avengers is on like Game Pass, it's like you literally have no revenue sources except skins, because nothing costs extra. It is just the skins and then the battle pass type things for the heroes. And that's why you see them do things like sell boosts, because there's no other revenue sources. And like, even if that was bad and they said they wouldn't do it, like I would have rather, I think I wrote an article, I was like, they would have been better off just starting to charge like $10 for, a new hero or something, than just, really upset the community by selling boosts.
100%.
Like so
100%.
Thank
you very much.
Yeah, I agree with that 110%, actually.
Yep.
Real quick, guys, we are going to give our channel members a shout out. Guys, you already know that we appreciate you. You are what makes this channel move. You are what makes us be able to do what we are doing. If you want to join the channel, you can listen to my homegirl Spring real quick.
Hey guys, it's Spring, and I've got a question. Do you want to rock with the best? Well, here's how. Hulk smash that join button and become a member of the squad. Members help propel the Doom Squad forward in this process of content creation, live streams, watch parties, community nights, and giveaways. If you're wondering, well, what do I get for helping out DSG? Here's the cool part. Channel members get access to the members-only section of the Doom Squad Gaming Discord, where you get access to playtime with all the members, early access with no ads to Doomkilla's builds, news, and first impression videos, priority replies during live streams, Excelsior Now podcast, the weekly wrap-up, and all live reaction events. One of the coolest benefits to becoming a member is the members-only giveaways. Get access to Marvel's Avengers credits, DSG gear, PlayStation and Xbox gift cards, and more. Join the channel now and become a member of the squad. This is Perry, your Doom Squad Gaming brand ambassador, and as Doom would say, let the good times roll.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's how you become a member. Hit that join button. Now it's time for a little bit of fun. We get to sit back and relax and play a little bit of Would You Rather with Mr. Paul Tassie. You ready, Paul?
I'm ready.
All right. Shang-Chi or the Eternals?
Oh man, I'm such like a big Eternals fan, more than like most. Like I know a lot of people hated it, but Shang-Chi was so good. I have to pick Shang-Chi. Yeah.
I agree. I honestly agree. Superman or Batman? Easy one.
Batman.
I thought you would say that. Now I got one for you, and you got to answer this right. Please answer this right.
Oh.
Wally West or Barry Allen?
Barry Allen?
Oh, no!
This is over, Chad. It's canceled. We're done.
Yeah,
no, kidding.
We're going now. Vodka or tequila?
Tequila.
Woo. I was not expecting that. Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Jordan.
I love you, Paul. I love you. Black Widow movie or Hawkeye TV show?
Hawkeye TV show. 5,000%. Yeah. Black Widow should have been a TV show. I mean,
Lady Gaga or Adele?
Lady Gaga.
Sons of Sora or Hero Killer?
Oh man, good one. I'll go with Hero Killer based on what I said earlier.
Yes,
It was later. I think I got maybe better as time went on.
There we go. Well played.
For those who don't know, that's a couple of his books.
Those are some of my books.
Call of Duty or Halo?
Halo.
Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh no.
Yes,
Veto. No.
Yep.
I
And
probably
the fanboys
played
were
more-
getting
I probably
ready.
played more
They were getting
PlayStation.
ready.
I will say that.
You definitely get to veto that. That was a good. Serious question. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now we'll take a couple of questions from the chat. Thank you for playing Would You Rather, man. I'm just upset about that Wally Westbury. Yeah.
Okay, most of my Flash, like I watched every episode of the CW Flash, so that's like 80% of my Flash experience. And like Wally West was not great on that show. And Barry Allen was just sort of better there, although the Flash has gotten very bad. So it's all not great now.
I hear you. Let's take a couple of questions from the chat real quick. Let me remove this branding really fast. There we go. All right. Questions from the chat. What you guys want to ask the man? We are ready for you to ask. Do you eat pork chops with cutlery or your hands?
Cutlery? Yeah, I'm from the Midwest. Like we don't. Yeah.
He's not double fisting pork chops yet.
Oh God.
That's a good one. Who's your favorite Avenger?
Oh, that is a good one.
Oh man, that is a good question. I want to say Captain America. I just have enough history with him where I'm going to say Captain America. Yeah.
There you go.
Most anticipated game coming in 2022.
I would say maybe Starfield. I know we've seen almost nothing from it, but like that's almost more exciting just because I'm a huge fan of everything, from Fallout and Elder Scrolls. That if it's on that level, that's like a very significant moment in gaming for their having a totally new IP.
Is Paul ready for Sabbath and the Witch Queen?
Yes, as long as my child is not born a month early, then I will be ready. Yes.
What games are you personally looking forward to playing in the near future?
I am playing Lost Ark right now. I can't talk about it, but I've been looking forward to that release since the beta. And Horizon Forbidden West. I'm not like a big Soulsborne person, so like I'll play Elden Ring at some point, but that's coming out in like this crazy time window where I'm gonna have to play Horizon and I have to play the Witch Queen. And then after that, later in the year, God of War Ragnarok, Starfield. I don't even know if those will make it out this year, honestly, but yeah, definitely those two.
What is the hardest part about being a journalist? Great question, Jazzy. Nice.
It can like. For me, it can be scheduling, whereas like I feel like I have to go just so hard all the time. Like there's so many different types of like journalism and writing and blogging and content creation and stuff. Whereas like if you're like, a New York Times investigative reporter, you can just spend a month working on one story. Whereas like if I'm trying to keep up with all these news items, that can be, a little overwhelming to be doing 150 articles a month and still trying to make, them be quality enough where they're not trash. So that is difficult, and I've had trouble kind of disconnecting and not doing that if it's a holiday or vacation or something like that. So,
gotcha. Set out the gamer. I'm not sure what this means, but he says, "Who is the best boy?"
I think that would be Evie, and she is the best girl. So,
okay.
And, another hard part about being a journalist is being on podcasts when my dog is chewing on loud things. So I'm sorry. She always does. As soon as I start talking, like on either for YouTube or for a podcast, she'll be like come in and chew her like loudest thing possible. It's amazing.
Well, that's a part of the lore, man. We love it. We love it. What Marvel series would you like to see that they haven't created yet, as far as a TV show is concerned?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, I don't even know if I know the answer to that. I would like to see. It's kind of a cop out because like I would like to see it like a Quake show, kind of based in the MCU where it can be, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Quake, it just give it a bigger budget than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had and integrate it into the MCU. That is a project that I think would be, pretty great. I think Chloe Bennett would kill it in that show, and they could bring back some other people. I just think with the Disney production budget and like actual integration of the MCU, something like that could be really cool to see, but who knows?
We've got just probably the weirdest question I think I've ever seen on this show right now.
Should be good.
Would you rather fight 10 chicken-sized horses or 1 horse-sized?
I've had variants of this before. It's usually ducks, not chickens.
What?
Yeah. I feel like the small horses, because then you could just sort of punt them. Like, what are they going to do? They're not really going to fight you. I don't know. I feel like chickens are more dangerous than horses at that size, given their sharp beaks and claws.
I've got a question for you. What's the worst game you've played recently? If you can answer that without hurting
No. That's a good question. I don't know if I can think of anything, because like if I know a game, like it would have to be like shockingly like I didn't see it coming, because if I know a game is probably going to suck, I don't have time to waste with it, so I'm not going to like dive into something that just looks like utter trash. But honestly, I can't think of anything right now. Not in recent memory. Like going way back, probably when it was probably like Anthem right at launch. Like Anthem right at launch was like shockingly disappointing in terms of what it was actually delivering, both like technically and in terms of the the live systems of it. That was, I would say, even worse than Cyberpunk. Like because I was playing Cyberpunk at least on a console where it worked, right? And like it was disappointing. But Anthem was like another level entirely.
Right. I'm gonna sneak one in if you don't mind, dude.
Sure.
Knowing that you come from a Destiny background, and and I talk about all the time, I put about 5,000 hours into Destiny 1. What is a lesson that you feel like Destiny, the franchise, has learned over its run that you feel Avengers would be better served to learn that lesson now?
I think the importance of creating meaningful rewards. That's kind of what I said before about knowing the loot paths and things like that. But Avengers was so tough from the start because they eliminated just one of the core principles of looters, which is stuff that looks and feels cool. Like that is such a key component of loot. Like I kind of get it. Like I understand why they don't want like Iron Man and like mismatching armor and like why you can only change Hulk's look so much, but that's maybe why you don't make a superhero looter game, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Right. So when you lost the ability to change how your character look, change their weapons, things like that. And so you're just like, what are the variants in these builds? It's just, what type of damage over time, or battery trigger thing are you doing? Like it's that is something that Destiny has always kind of done a great job of, whether it's like this armor set looks really awesome or this gun does something new and unique we've never seen in 7 years, where that's just a place that I don't think Avengers has ever gotten to yet.
Makes sense to me.
Thank
Okay, we'll just take a couple of more questions that we had from Twitter, and this is from a guy called the Avengers Hater.
I know him.
I don't know. Oh, okay.
I know who he is.
He's infamous.
He says, do you think the game is going in the right direction, meaning Avengers?
Yes, it's just that, how far can it get? Like with this is the thing. So like I'll use the raid as an example, where like the raid was probably some of the best content they dropped. It's just that the game has not evolved to a point that can really sustainably support a raid long term, other than a very small select group of players. Because like if you're just like, okay, I want to come back to Avengers, like you're not hopping into the raid. Like it's not something you can do. Whereas like if it launched with the raid, or if the raid was in the first update after 2 months or something, that may have been a different story. So a lot of the stuff they're doing is good. It's just, it's coming so late where it either should have kind of been baked in at launch or launched a lot sooner, but they had all these technical problems to deal with for, half the year. So I've rarely seen them make changes. I've rarely seen them make changes that are just like explicitly terrible for the sake of being terrible. Like few exceptions are like, okay, when they sold boosters, that was very bad. But like when they just made it so you couldn't get cosmetics in the game for a very long time. But
Right.
like besides that, like most of the changes they've made have been steps in the right direction. It's just, you know, if you're I gotta switch this. If you're here and you're trying to get to here, like you make steps, but like, will you ever get here? Probably not at this pace. Like I don't know if you can get all the way there.
Yeah, that would be my next question coming from another channel supporter named Babe Bro. He says, what do you think Play Avengers needs to be successful in your opinion? And I mean, you kind of answered it, but I mean, if you could talk directly to them and they could hear you right now, what would you say? Hey, do this, and this could help.
I have talked directly to them. I really do think they're trying, and I do think that a lot of the stuff they are doing, you know, it is listening to us, listening to fans, listening to critics, and things like that. It's just, maybe if they can kind of get a handle on the content release cycle more, and you know, kind of come up with events to get people back into the game and have like a clear, very rewarding objective. Not just like kind of recycling the same 2 or 3 events over and over again. And then, you know, releasing new heroes in a way that's like exciting and like, you know, really meaningful to come back for. Like, I get what they kind of had to do with Spider-Man, but that's kind of a good example of like, that was a character that I was excited to play. And yet, because of the limitations they had with that, it's like, okay, am I really going to do this like 12-step chain where I just got to kill 500 enemies in like 60 ways? Like, that's not very engaging content. So it's a tough balance because I understand their limitations at this point, but in order to get players back, kind of, you need to create a system with kind of a meaningful objectives to complete kind of week in and week out. And like they sort of do that with exotics. It's gotten better recently, but like,
Right.
you know, a couple of months ago, it was like you can get 1 or 2 exotics a week on like X or Y run of one thing for one character. And it's like, that's not very engaging. So that is starting to change, but again, it might be a little late.
Okay, quick, you kind of led into this question. Is from one of my channel members, one of the guys on my team, Brock Solid. He asked, what kind of in-game content would you like to play in the game?
I think the first and foremost, the thing they have to do with end-game content is before they put any more in, they have to figure out a join in progress system. Like you can't have more endgame content where if one person drops, the entire activity is scrapped. Either if they rage quit or if they just drop. Like it's such like, I get the technical aspects of games are a lot harder than we think, but like that is a very, very core component of stuff where like if they can't sub in an AI enemy, you know, if a player leaves, that is going to be hugely detrimental. And I'm amazed the raid launch without that. I would prefer something that is maybe a little more combat focused, less mechanically inclined than the raid, because again, like to really do that, you got to have a very core dedicated group of players that know what they're doing, that probably know each other, because it's not really going to be super fun to do with randoms. So something, you know, not as something as maybe as generalized as a horde mode, but you know, something vaguely similar to that, where also something maybe out in the open where like we're using more of these spaces rather than just, okay, you're just, I don't consider a horde mode like going through 40 floors of like a hive. You know what I mean? Like that's not a horde mode. And I think they could make kind of better use of the spaces they already have. So it's tough, but I think the raid is good. It's just maybe kind of too advanced for what the more kind of generalized population would need from the game.
The general public, at least the people who view me and watch my channel, they normally would say like the Cosmic Cube event with Monica that you play against Monica for his in-game content is perfect in-game content for the game, because if somebody does drop out, you don't mean your AI is, you know, fine enough to go ahead and help you still get through the end of that without it being, you know, so crazy hard or, you know, so crazy easy. You know, it's actually good content.
Yeah, that's a good example. That's essentially like the equivalent of like a tougher Destiny strike, I guess. Whereas the Kate Bishop one, with the robot, that was like a different level of, because that was when people would drop and then you would just be screwed essentially unless you had some perfect builds. So yeah, Monica Cosmic Cube, that's probably the right level. I think you're right.
Yeah, exactly. So cool, man. Well, channel, y'all know what time it is. You guys have 30 seconds to share this video because it's fire or trash time, people. So you know what to do. Share this people with somebody you like, somebody you don't like, somebody you want to punch, somebody who wants to punch you, somebody you went to drinking with, somebody who went smoking with, somebody you was with, or somebody you was with. Y'all already know what to do. You have 30 seconds to do it. So let that happen now.
What's shaking, people? It's your boy Doom Killer HD. Sit back and relax. You are now rocking with the best. And welcome to another segment of Fire or Trash, where we take your favorite YouTube or Twitch streamer, content creator, and ask them a series of questions really fast. The only thing they can answer is fire or trash. Fire or trash, fire or trash. The only thing you can answer to the questions I ask. Fire or trash, fire or trash. The only thing you can answer to the questions I ask. Fire or is it trash? Fire or trash.
All right.
Let's go.
Got a whole song. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Community portion, so you know they had to do that. So oh god, Paul Tassie. This is the segment where we take our favorite YouTubers, content creators, and now Forbes journalists and ask them a series of questions really, really fast. The only thing you can answer is fire or trash. There's no maybe, there's no mid, there's no I don't know. It's just fire or trash. And you have zero time to think. I ask you a question, you answer it. Are you ready, sir?
I got it.
Sushi.
Fire.
Look up the movie.
Trash.
J.K. Rowling's.
Trash.
Gangster rap.
Fire.
Free-to-play video games.
Trash.
The Arrowverse.
Trash.
Not safe for work Reddit.
Fire.
There you go.
Led Zeppelin.
Fire.
OnlyFans.
Fire.
Crystal Dynamics.
Fire.
Public masturbation.
Trash.
Good call.
I'm sorry, Paul. They made me ask you that, dude. I'm so sorry. I apologize. It'll never happen again, I promise.
I can see the clickbait lines tomorrow.
Well, it would have been more clickbaity if I said fires.
Well, that's true.
Don't edit that.
They're not even about to edit that, Paul. It's gonna be like public masturbation, fire. Oh my god. Oh god. Thank you for playing fire or trash, sir. You were a great sport. Thank you, and thank you. Now it's time for more questions from the chat is laughing their asses off right now. I'm sorry. I apologize. They made me ask you that. I would have stopped at Crystal Dynamics. Please give me some questions for Paul. Johnny, do you have any questions?
Let me scroll back through. I thought I saw a couple good ones.
Oh god.
I'm gonna kind of put a lot of comments together. What are your feelings on the pace of content right now within Avengers?
It's not great, just because it's very hard to like figure out a reason to come back over a bunch of other live service games that have more to do on a weekly basis. I would say. Whereas, like, I am always going to come back for, like, the new hero drops or a new villain sector or whatever, but the time between those releases is pretty thin. And even once those do come out, it's like the content is still over in, like, 2 hours usually. And then it's just, I'm going to level this to 50, 150, and then maybe see if I can run in-game stuff with it. But there are pretty yawning gaps in between things, and like that's very hard to do. Like it is crazy, kind of, what Destiny does with its rolling seasons and or Genshin Impact or things like that, where they have so much content that is generally pretty diverse, whereas Avengers isn't quite at that level, so they just kind of have to keep rerunning the same events and things like that.
Okay. What do you think about time gating in Avengers and other live service games where you know time gating is, right? Where you can only get this loot. Yeah, but
it depends on what it's for. Like sometimes it can be annoying. Like so if you're in Destiny, you're doing like an exotic quest, and then it's like, oh, do like 4 bounties to move to the next step, but like you can only do 2 bounties a week and you just have to wait. Like that's just kind of dumb artificial time gating. Whereas like if you're time gating the story, where it's like I have 8 weeks of story developments, so either you could experience them in like 45 minutes or you can log in for a new cutscene and like some dialogue every week. I like that kind of storytelling in Destiny's seasonal model.
Okay. Recently, one of our good friends and one of the more popular YouTubers in the Avengers community, Tricks Ridiculous, was banned for 10 days from playing Marvel's Avengers for pretty much showing people how to get around the time gating. He would pretty much hop in a DeLorean, go to the future by setting his PS5, a week or 2 weeks ahead or whatnot.
It still works.
Do you think they should have banned him for that?
What were you able to get from that? Just like more,
just able to play the raid. Early.
Play the raid and get the loot for the raid instead of waiting 15 weeks to level up his character. He just was like
that's kind of on them. I think I don't know. I've heard of way worse, exploits that are done. Like I would not consider that ban worthy, honestly. So
you got to answer this one right. And KD, I'm actually mad at you for putting this question on the board. I'm old school, so y'all know what I'm gonna say. Goku or Naruto, Mr. Paul?
Goku.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
I didn't do Naruto. I grew up with at least some level of DBZ. So
got you. Let's see. I'm looking for some good questions from our homegirl, Miss Sadistic Kitten. Actually, she'll be the next guest on Excelsior Now podcast. So tune in next week if you want to see Sadistic Kitten go crazy. She wants to know. I want to know your thoughts on them patching the time travel, because they actually patched it to where you cannot go ahead and get the loot that you want to get in a certain time. Your thoughts on that, big sir?
I mean, I get why they would do that. It's just, I think if people are upset about this, that says something about the structure of loot rewards that needs to be adjusted. If people think that it's taking way too long, to gear up their characters, like that is the kind of the impression I've gotten too, where, I haven't played at least a little bit now, but back when I was doing it, like trying to gear up with not just like any exotics first and then good exotics later, like the lockouts were too extreme. And it sounds like they're too extreme now too, even with the raid here. So I understand why they in theory would want to patch that, but I can't. They need to kind of re-examine their own reward structure if people are kind of upset about this.
Gotcha. You can always plead the fifth to any question you'd like. Any info on WBDC games such as Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad?
I don't have any like inside info, honestly. I'm not like hooked up with all them, but I'm certainly looking forward to both of them. I think we have too many versions of Harley Quinn at this point. That's like another. I don't know if we need like a 5th Harley Quinn in the DC verse, but I am just generally looking forward to that game. And Gotham Knights, because both of these have the potential to be great. So yeah, no secrets.
H.G. Wells or Ray Bradbury?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Bradbury. I think. Yeah, I mean they're both great, but Bradbury, yeah.
I hear you. That is awesome, dude. Any more questions from you, Johnny? As I continue to scroll down.
Let me see. I mean, I know we're mostly members of the Avengers community, but having somebody that's so well engrossed in Destiny, I'm one of those Destiny folks that I prefer Destiny 1 over 2, and there were directions in 2 that have kind of ran me away from Destiny a little bit. And one of the things that I personally loved about Destiny 1 was, like, especially at the end, the freedom that we had, right? That if you started in Destiny, there were so many different things that you could do to have that path to power, right? If you wanted to run strikes, if you wanted to run Prison of Elders, if you wanted to do this or that or the other.
Mhm.
What in your mind should be the future of Destiny? Should they be living with a foot in the past, like trying to recreate Destiny 1? Or do you feel like the future of Destiny is on a different trajectory we haven't even seen yet?
So it's interesting you say that, because I think what's happened with Destiny, probably in the last year or two specifically, is that I think there are tons of paths to power. The problem is not necessarily that there aren't that many paths to power in Destiny 2 at this point. It's that power just feels less and less purposeful. Like I don't know when the last time you played this, but there's this seasonal artifact now where you grind it out and it gives you temporary power for that season. And it
Right.
can go really, really high. It's essentially infinite, but like it just goes away when that season is over. And
Right.
there's very, very few activities where power really seems to matter. And in some of the most challenging content in the game, they don't even let you power level for it. Like they will just handicap you and be like, you're 20 under light. Like that's it. Like you can't go any higher. So I think the direction they're going is, I don't know if they'll remove power entirely and just change everything to kind of a difficulty system. But there has been not a ton of reason to kind of pursue power for a lot of reasons for a while now. And they've moved away from, it used to be like you should grind 50 power a season. Now it's barely 10. So they're reducing it already. And I would not be surprised if they, in some fashion, just kind of eliminated it altogether.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Quick question from King Greek: in football, Patriots or Cowboys?
Are those teams or no? I don't watch any sports. None. No sports.
That was hilarious.
You want to know how I find to write all these articles and play all these games and watch all these shows? I don't watch.
It's
any
not
sports.
watching sports, right?
No, I might watch the Super Bowl just to go to a party, but like that's it. I know I pretty much don't like the Patriots though. Even not being into sports.
Well
I
done.
know I don't like the Patriots. So.
Have you ever required someone to have the Gilgahorn to be in your fire team?
The Gallahorn, yeah.
Gallahorn, I'm sorry.
Trix, I'm sorry about your band. That's sad. No, I haven't. It's just well, okay, that's not true actually. I did make a recent listing for Dares of Eternity where I just put I put like galley farming because it's just so much faster. Like I was trying to blaze through this activity. Evie, you are so loud.
It's okay. It's okay. No, Evie, you're good.
Oh my gosh. Character. So I did technically put that in the descriptor, but I wasn't like kicking people who didn't have it or anything. So.
Sure you were, Paul. Sure you were.
Yeah.
Who do you think would win the fight out of Hulk and Superman? That's actually a good question.
I want to say Superman, but I don't know all the logistics of it. Like, because Superman always has kryptonite, but I don't think Hulk's going to find kryptonite. So I still want to say Superman, though. I think he's just got too many utility tools. I guess it depends which version of Hulk, too, like Smart Hulk or Dumb Hulk.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would say Superman, too, just on GP. I know my friend Harry is going to kill me for that. But do you think mainstream gaming media is generally fair, or in your experiences, is there a lot of bias based on the name of the company involved?
Gosh. No, I do not think the mainstream media is very biased. Honestly, I get this narrative a lot, but like you would be, amazed how like little games journalists truly care about whatever console you think they like. They really don't care. Like it's just kind of also people just sort of take whatever your last thing is that you wrote and like that's who you are and that's your opinion. So like I am pro Xbox, anti Sony now because of my recent articles, and yet I spent 5 years bashing Xbox like when in the Xbox One generation because they did so many things wrong. So it really depends. And I mean, the clear biases I see that are not really even hidden are among, certain, sects of Twitter groups that are just accounts entirely devoted to one side or the other, whether it's a console or a game franchise or whatever. And a lot of YouTubers too. Like there are kind of explicitly, pro PlayStation, anti Xbox YouTubers or vice versa, or, people always dunking on one game or another game or things like that. So, and that's fine. I'd like that's totally, everyone has the right to make channels like that. But I don't see that in like mainstream game coverage as much as some people think that there is.
Good question from another good friend of the channel, Miss Suki is okay. She asked, "What's your opinion on the mystery character that's supposed to hit Marvel's Avengers?"
Is this the one that's supposed to come before She-Hulk?
Yeah,
That's like a mirror. Yeah. So I don't know if I read all the clues or stuff. But I think it's got to be a female character. I think they really want to kind of even that up a bit. So that speaks to me. I would say the most likely ones would be Yelena or Jane Foster Thor, because both of those are like they're trying to do more stuff that is more relevant to the MCU now. Like obviously with all the MCU skins, I think they're trying to time She-Hulk with the show to some extent. And so Yelena and Jane Foster's coming later, but she's still an important part of the next Thor, and it's like kind of the key figure there. And then Yelena's having a big moment with Black Widow and Hawkeye and stuff. So those are my guesses. I'm a little curious. It just seems like Yelena might be too close to Black Widow because they're both women, whereas at least Jane Foster Thor would be a female version of Thor and a little different with the model and things like that. So I don't know if we just need like sort of like blonde Black Widow with slightly different gadgets, but
right.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just I'd be a little surprised if it was that.
I hear you, sir. Johnny, do you have any other questions for Paul?
Yeah, I got one question for you. Gaming journalism over the past 10 years, it seems has just completely transformed, into almost, I mean, I know, I'm an old guy. So for me, it was Nintendo Power magazines and Game Informers, and all that stuff back in the day. And then you had the rise of IGN and the websites and things like that. Giving the pace that technology advances and how we become more and more of a digital culture, where do you see the future of games journalism, or maybe even journalism in general, in the next few years?
Well, certainly less print outlets. We barely have any left as is, and I don't know what's going to happen to, say, like Game Informer or some of the last big ones there. But I think you are going to see more and more mainstream institutions ramp up their games coverage. I'd like to think I've been trying to do that at Forbes for already 10 years now, but Washington Post launched their own video game section, a couple of years ago, and New York Times is very, very slowly starting to add more video game coverage that's kind of more on the ground. Other outlets have been a lot slower. So in doing that, that pushes out a lot more kind of enthusiasts, maybe smaller sites. And we're just kind of left with, kind of the top big dogs, your IGN, Polygon, Eurogamer, whatever. And everyone else is kind of squeezed out because of the way, like the fundamental nature of kind of how Google works and, distributing content, which, it's part tech and then part kind of competition just ramping up. So, we've already seen a lot of, kind of classic video game sites fold if they weren't bundled up and bought up by some other bigger company, or if they weren't profitable enough. So it's going to probably get more condensed, which may not be great.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Quick question for you, Paul. Have you completed the raid yet for Marvel's Avengers?
No, I'm surprised it took this long to ask. So I never have, and there's two reasons for that. Is I was mainly focused on Spider-Man at the time, and then I was watching your run of the raid. I watched a few runs, and I'm like, one thing I did not do that I was concerned about was I have all 150 characters, but like I didn't really farm Wakanda very much, so I don't have like a lot of the vibranium and sonic things, and like I know that's like a key part of the enemies there. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm ready for this, but I don't know if I want to go grind a bunch of Wakanda stuff either. So I just kind of put it off, and so it was either going to be like I would have to manually assemble a group on via Twitter or something, or like risk it with matchmaking, and like.
You don't risk it with matchmaking, sir.
That's very, very, very soon. So I would love to do it someday. It's just like other stuff came up and like it didn't feel necessary to me. Like I watched a bunch of runs. I'm like, that looks cool, but like I don't know if my team is ready, and I don't really want to take the effort to find a team. So I never ended up running it, and that is kind of the one gap in my Avengers playtime at this point, but I
Well,
just
Paul,
I
how
got caught up
about
in
this,
games
man?
that were more relevant.
We've
more
got a
relevant.
team full of people willing and ready
I
to
would love to run
carry
it.
you
We should,
through
we should
the
definitely
raid.
run it together. That would be great.
That
Who
would be
are like the good characters in the raid? I mean, I have almost everyone leveled, but
Kate Bishop,
Kate Bishop,
Thor,
okay.
Iron Man.
Hawkeye, and Iron Man. If you got those 4 on your
So
team,
ranged.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Well, we will definitely set
my
something
Kate and
up.
Hawkeye are pretty solid, I think. So
That works.
Absolutely.
well, we'll get it done. I do want to do it. It's just
Hell yeah.
Yes,
We'll get it
indeed.
worked out.
Mhm.
Yes,
We'll make it
indeed.
fun.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I'll just DM you my actually Doom Killer HD. That's my gamer tag or PSN actually. I'm on PlayStation. So sorry, Xbox people. But yeah, we can do that, bro. Anytime you want to, my friend. Guys, this has been Paul Tassie on Excelsior on our podcast. I'm still nervous. I know I've been stuttering my words the whole time. I can't talk right. My brain is still blinking. Look, you see it's blinking right now. It's just blinking. It's just blinking, Paul. Nah, man, this was really, really awesome. Thank you for coming and shooting the crap with us. My friend Johnny Rocker, you are the best dude. You got anything to say to the people before we get up out of here, Jay?
Hey, man, I just want to thank Paul for taking time out of his schedule to hang out with us. And like I said, we'll get some stuff together. We'll run that raid, kind of make it fun, get the community involved a little bit. But said thank you, man, and appreciate all you guys being here as always. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Paul, you have anything you want to say to the crowd before we get up out of here, good sir?
Well, thanks to you guys for having me. This is a great time. I love being on podcasts that are not necessarily Destiny focused because I'm on a lot of those. So it's good to see you come here, talk about Avengers, talk about other stuff, and this was a lot of fun. So thanks for having me.
Man.
Thanks to everyone for watching too, and all your questions and chat.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And we have Paul Tassie on Excelsior. I'm tripping. Anyways, guys, y'all know how this goes. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a great honor. This was so fun. We got to play Fire or Trash with Paul Tassie. Don't tell him I said that, but we got to play Fire or Trash with him. It was so awesome, man. For real, though. Guys, with all that said, laissez le bon temps rouler, which means let the good times roll. Peace out, people. Paul, we'll ask you to stay on for the after show real quick just to get a couple of questions done, and we'll talk to you in a minute, boss. Okay. Thank you, guys. Peace out, people.
Assemble, we are strong. Forever fight as one.
Hey guys, it's Spring. And are you ready for DSG block parties? Every Friday night, come join members of Doom Squad Gaming tackling the toughest content in the game with you. Come play with your favorite members of the team. Members like Bloody Reckless, Slipshock, Alien Fodder, Casual Avenger, and more. Each Friday, a different member will host and bring their own unique flavor to the party. So join us if you are ready to rock with the best. This is Spring, your Doom Squad Gaming brand ambassador, and as Doom would say,